Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's meeting of the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means and Senate Committee on Finance, joint subcommittees on Public Safety, Natural Resources, and Transportation. Would the Secretary please call the roll?
Senator Kachia? Here. Senator Harris? Here. Senator Wynn? Here. Assemblywoman Anderson? Present. Assemblywoman Brown-May? Here. Assemblywoman Dickman? Here. Assemblywoman Gorlow? Here. Assemblywoman Hafen? Here. Assemblyman Hafen. And Chair Watts.
And I am present. Thank you. All right. We have several budgets on our agenda today. Looks like 6 from the Department of Motor Vehicles and 3 from the Department of Veterans Services. We will get right into our agenda for the day. We'll start with the Department of Motor Vehicles. Director Butler, welcome. Whenever you're ready, you can introduce yourself for the record and begin.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Julie Butler, Director, Nevada Department of Motor Vehicles. To my left is Angela Smith-Lamb, the administrator of our Administrative Services Division, and to her left is Tanya Laney, DMV Deputy Director. And we'll be presenting Budget Account 4744, DMV Director's Office. Director's Office is comprised of 19 FTEs, which includes the Director, Deputy Director, Public Information Officers, an Information Security Officer, and a Human Resources section. The Director's Office is responsible for the general administration of the department. The Director oversees the 7 divisions of the department, has statutory authority to direct and supervise all administrative and technical operations, and to adopt regulations as necessary for the operation of the department and enforcement of laws administered by the department. Director's Office coordinates the efforts of the various divisions within the department to achieve its purpose through the establishment of policies, strategic planning, and by coordinating the use of staffing and resources to optimize efficiency. Today, I'd like to highlight the following decision units for your consideration. Decision Unit E901 requests to transfer 1 accounting assistant and 1 administrative assistant from the Administrative Services Division's budget account 4745 to the Director's Office Human Resources section. The focus of these positions has always been payroll, which is more closely aligned with human resources rather than accounts payable in the Administrative Services Division. These positions review, audit, process, and correct the timesheets and special pays for all 1,289 authorized DMV employees. These functions are not changing. As time permits, the positions will assist human resources staff with maintaining employee files, verification of employment and unemployment claims, new hire onboarding, and employee orientations. There is no anticipated negative impact to the Administrative Services Division from these transfers, and the transfers are revenue neutral, meaning that the expenses for salary and operating costs just shifts from one budget account to the other without any increase or decrease. Decision Unit E903 requests a transfer of a DMV Services Manager 3 and a Training Officer 2, which collectively make up the Employee Development Unit, from the Director's Office to the Research and Project Management Division, budget account 4742. Staff training is a crucial part of our operations and will be even more critical as the department gets closer to implementing the business process changes that will come about due to the DMV transformation effort, or DTE. The Research and Project Management Division, as project oversight for the DMV transformation effort, has an in-depth knowledge of the changes that will be coming about for DTE and the scheduled rollout of the new functionality. As such, having the Employee Development Unit within the Research and Project Management Division will give these 2 staff advanced knowledge of the needed training, curriculum changes so that they can prepare department-wide training in line with the DMV schedule. DMV is embarking on a culture of continuous process improvement. That means after DMV is officially complete, we will continue to look for ways to streamline operations and use the new IT platform to be proactive rather than reactive to solving business challenges. Research and Project Management Division will continue to be the department's official sponsor of these changes, and thus it makes sense to keep the Employee Development Unit embedded within this division rather than in the Director's Office. There is no anticipated negative impact to the Director's Office from these changes, and the transfers are revenue neutral. And that's it for this budget account. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you very much, Director. We very much appreciate you getting right into the budget accounts. So we do have, I think, a couple of higher level questions while we're at the director's office. I believe Assemblywoman Dickman has a question.
Thank you, Chair. I wasn't actually ready for a question, but so could you comment on the recent trends for highway fund revenue and how the projections for the 23-25 biennium were developed? Yeah, that was gonna.
For the record, Angela Smith, I just want to make sure I understand. Are you talking about overall revenue projections? Okay. So those were calculated or projected based on historical trends for the last several years.
Okay. I guess that answers my question.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we'll go to Chair Harris.
Thank you very much, Chair Watts. If you could just briefly describe some of the main operating issues that the DMV is facing and how the executive budget addresses those issues.
For the record, Julie Butler, through you, Mr. Chairman, to Senator Harris.
And you can go directly to the member.
Great, thank you. Some of the main operating issues the DMV is facing, I think probably our number one issue is staffing. And a close second would be our ancient IT platform, which I've briefed this committee on in testimony. Department-wide for the last year or so, we have fluctuated, but it's been consistently around 14-15% vacancies. And in some divisions, currently as of February 5th, we were at about 170 positions or 9.5% vacancy overall across the department. Some divisions are worse than that. In our Central Services and Records Division, which handles our back office operations, vacancies are 30.6% of authorized. I have 46 positions out of 150 vacant. In our IT division, I have 21 positions out of 70 vacant. That's 30% of authorized. That's a little inflated because we have been holding 9 positions vacant to pay, have the salary savings for some contractors. So it's really more like 17%, but it's still significant and it makes a big difference. In terms of how the executive budget will address those issues, we do have decision units to reflect that in the Research and Project Management Division, as well as in the DMV Transformation Project Budget Account 4716. There are decision units to address, continue the DMV transformation effort into the 24-25 biennium. So that will be coming up at our budget hearing in March. Also, the governor's recommended budget includes a proposed 8% and 4% salary increase across all budget accounts statewide, and so we're hoping that that will help address some of the staffing challenges that we are experiencing right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any additional questions on budget account 4744? Assemblywoman Gorlow.
Thank you, Chair. I want to go back to what my colleague was asking about the trends on the highway fund. Could you elaborate a little bit more about what those historical trends are? They've been going up, down, staying about the same? Thank you.
For the record, Angela Smith. So the revenue trends have been pretty good. They did dip during the pandemic, but they spiked back up and came back really strong. So we're projecting roughly a 2% increase over the biennium.
Thank you. Additional questions? Assemblyman Hafen.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Chairman, thank you. And Director, thank you. You mentioned that there was a dip during the pandemic. Were you able to get any federal funds to offset that or no?
Julie Butler for the record. Thank you for the question, Assemblyman Hafen. No, we did not. Well, we did get some ARPA funds to help with staffing challenges, but in terms of backfilling the highway fund specifically, no.
But for staffing, you were able to?
For staffing,
Okay,
yes.
perfect, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Members, any additional questions to the department on this budget account? All right, seeing none, I think we can move on to budget account 4745.
Good morning, committee members. For the record, Angela Smith Lamb, Administrator for Admin Services Division, Budget Account 4745. The Administrative Services Division is comprised of 50 FTEs. The division provides support services to the Director's Office and all divisions of the department to include fiscal accounting, budgeting, internal-external auditing, travel arrangements, warehousing, inventory control, mail services, purchasing, contracting, facilities management, and telecommunications support, revenue collection and distribution, and recovery services. Today, I would like to highlight the following decision units affecting this division. E901, request transfer an accounting assistant and one administrative assistant to the Director's Office, Budget Account 4744. Approval of this decision unit will allow payroll staff to be aligned with DMV Human Resources Unit. These positions' primary duties will not change, and the focus will remain on payroll-related activities. The next item I'd like to highlight is our merchant services. Merchant fees is the largest expense in this budget account. Merchant fee expenses are offset with collection of certain DMV fees, cost allocations from DMV fee-funded budgets, and with a highway fund revenue appropriation. DMV processes roughly 4.6 million transactions, and approximately 3.7 million of those transactions are paid with electronic payment. As the department encourages more online business, we naturally see an increase in the credit card transactions, resulting in corresponding increase in merchant fees. In FY22, DMV paid an average of $6.12 per credit card transaction and 46 cents per debit card transaction. Accordingly, we are projecting approximately 11.6 million in FY24 and 12.4 million in FY25. This results in additional funding requested of almost $2 million in FY24 and $2.7 million in FY25 over the prior biennium. Increased highway funds are needed due to the increased merchant fees. The state's merchant services contract was amended to allow agencies to implement a service fee model to pass on expenses to the customer rather than absorb these costs. The current rate that would be assessed is 1.95% on the amount due. The average vehicle registration is approximately $243, meaning the service fee would be approximately $474. As part of the transformation effort, the service fees have been identified as a core business requirement for processing credit card payments. DMV is looking to begin releasing the service fee model in alignment with the release of DMV services in its new system sometime in 2026. That concludes my testimony. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Members, questions on this budget account? I think we'll start with Assemblywoman Brown-May.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I have a couple of questions relative to the fees, the credit card and debit card transactions and the resulting increase in merchant fees, right? Can you talk a little bit about what some of the factors were that you considered when determining what your projected volume would be?
For the record, Angela Smith. Credit card increases were projected by the average growth in the number of transactions we process. So a 3-year average, roughly 3%, 3.8% growth.
Thank you for that follow-up, Chair. Thank you. So if I hear what you're saying, right, and I just want to follow up to make sure we kind of get this on the record, that we're projecting an increase in average 3.8% in transactions, but you're also anticipating an increase in fees. Is that correct? Is that going to grow as well?
For the record, Angela Smith, the fees have increased. They're set by the card brands, and so the projections do include the cost relative to the number of transactions processed.
Thank you. Next, I believe we have Assemblyman Hafen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I am excited to see the new online services when they go live, because I think there's going to be a very beneficial, at least to my generation, to be able to do more services online. Do we have an anticipated timeline of when it's going to go live and customers will actually be able to utilize that?
Julie Butler for the record. That's a great question. We are anticipating in fiscal year 2026. I don't know if that is early in the fiscal year or later in the fiscal year, but it is anticipated to take the next 2 years specifically, and that's going to be the biggest lift of the project, which is when we move the data, and then we'll have some cleanup tasks after that. So I think sometime in fiscal year 26.
Thank you. And then follow up, Mr. Chair. Just following up on my colleague's comments on the projections on the credit card transactions. When that goes live in 2026, would you be projecting a higher percentage of usage then when that actually, I'm assuming the answer is yes, but I just thought I'd.
Yeah, Julie Butler for the record. Yes, we are anticipating a higher percentage of use, and thus the reason for the higher projections on the credit card fees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Assemblywoman Anderson.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. I'm going to kind of continue along the same lines about the credit card fees, the fee-based transaction in particular. You mentioned that the contract had just been, the contract was amended to be a 9.5%, I believe earlier. So my first question, has there been a little bit more discussion about trying to change that, or even looking at a different contract possibly instead of Wells Fargo? Is this getting into the weeds that I don't want to micromanage? So.
For the record, Angela Smith, for clarification, the rate is 1.95%. So I hope that answers your question. So it's fairly low.
Of course it is. So I'm happy that you clarified that percentage, because I was like, wow, that's high. So could you elaborate maybe on the department's decision to transition to that fee-based transaction model for the customers who utilize the online credit and debit card payments? And then also, what is the long-term plan for how to do that?
For the record, Angela Smith, so the plan would be when we go live with the department's transformation, that's when we would implement the service fee, and it would be applied for any credit card used across the board.
So was that where the decision to transition to that is just only for the online, or was that discussed a little bit earlier in the process as well?
For the record, Angela Smith, the way the service fee model works, it's my understanding they have a couple of different, they have convenience fee where that could only be assessed online, but that model is very hard to implement, and so we chose the service fee model, which is being used by some other agencies, but because of our current system, our legacy system, it would be very difficult for us to implement that in the current environment, so that's why we decided to wait until we roll out with our new platform.
Thank you, Chair.
Also, if I could provide a little bit additional detail on that to the Assemblywoman's question. The department has been, this body in particular has been very interested in credit card fees for many, many years. And there was a lot of discussion around credit card fees and the department passing on that cost to the consumer. And as Ms. Smith just testified, it's been a very heavy lift for the department to be able to accommodate in our legacy system. So again, hearing the direction of this body, we have baked that functionality in, or we're planning to bake it in with the new system rollout, as opposed to try to bolt it onto the existing system.
Thank you. Additional questions from members? Assemblywoman Dickman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to follow up a little bit on that, so is this going to be a flat fee or a percentage? And would you have to pay it if you go into the DMV and use a credit card?
For the record, Angela Smith, it is a flat fee. My understanding is that it's calculated by the merchant services based on our volume of transactions, and so it would be assessed in office and online across the board.
So it would be relatively low, I'm guessing. I mean,
Yeah,
it
for the
wouldn't be
record, this is.
10% of your car registration or anything, right?
Right. For the record, this is Angela Smith. Yes, it would be 1.95%. So an average vehicle registration, it would be about $4.50, $5.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Senator Goicoechea.
Thank you, and kind of piqued my interest there then. Okay, do you have to use a credit card? You don't want a check or cash, so it gets to be a catch-22 maybe. Pay me 2% more, or I'll write you a check that might bounce. Okay. Will you take cash or a check? That's the question.
For the record, Angela Smith, yes, we will still take cash, and part of the service fee model does require that we offer a free payment option in addition to that service fee model. So we would offer like e-check that would be at no cost to the customer.
Thank you. Just want to get that on the record. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Good question. Members, any additional questions? Seeing none, I do have just one last clarifying item. So, and again, I'm glad to see that the department's leading the way. I know this has been a conversation for some time, and it's not just an issue in your department, although it is, with the volume of transactions you handle, particularly significant, and that results in less funds to use on other things, including highway funds. The one question I had is, it looks like I have some projections here that show, you mentioned the overall implementation for kind of the full transition, but it looks like there is a projection that certain services will be coming online as part of the transformation effort in fiscal 24 and 25 that will be that may be subject to this new model. Could you just give us some additional clarification on any services you expect to come on early that may be able to go into this fee-based model?
Julie Butler for the record. So the overall core of the system, which is our titles, registrations, and driver license, along with moving that data, that will take us the entirety of the biennium. We may end up being able to do that toward the end of FY 2025, but those are really the core of the system. Plus, the financial system is really the backbone of the thing. So we've got financial, driver license, title, reg, all of that kind of has to cross the finish line together in this. Now, that's not to say we won't try to do some incremental releases here and there of additional functionality, but the plan is it all moves together.
Great, thank you. Seeing no other questions, I believe we can move on to Budget Account 4740, Compliance Enforcement.
Good morning, Chair Watts, Chair Harris, committee members. I am J.D. Decker. I'm the Chief of the Compliance Enforcement Division for the Department of Motor Vehicles, Budget Account 4740. The Compliance Enforcement Division, also known as CED, is comprised of 82 FTEs, including 18 peace officers and 14 non-sworn investigators. CED is the regulatory and law enforcement arm of the Department of Motor Vehicles and consists of our occupational licensing section, vehicle inspections and appraisals, industry compliance section, and our criminal investigations section. CED investigates fraudulent documents submitted to the department and other crimes related to fictitious identities, vehicle titling, and registration fraud, and regulates the motor vehicle industry, including deceptive trade violations. CED investigations lead us to fugitive and stolen vehicle recovery, chop shops, illegal parts and racing activities, and stolen vehicle rings who use out-of-state titling and registration loopholes to defraud Nevada consumers in the private marketplace and evade Nevada's registration and titling laws. I would like to highlight the following decision units in the division's submitted budget. E723 and 724 requests body and dash cams, and related equipment for 10 CED officers who are equipped for patrol and task force functions that involve significant public contact. E231, this decision unit funds travel for the administrator to attend a valuable law enforcement conference with counterparts from other states through the AMVA organization. E239, this position funds 2 vehicle appraisers to meet growing marketplace needs. Appraiser activity is key to maintaining streamlined interaction with department processes for the motor vehicle industry, insurance companies, citizens, and other government agencies. Funding these positions will allow section supervisors in the north and south to focus on supervisory duties while maintaining the ability to service the needs of a growing population. E710, this decision unit requests funding for scheduled office replacement equipment. E715, this decision unit requests funding for scheduled technology replacement. And that concludes the budget presentation. I'm available to answer any questions the committee might have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. All right, we'll move on to questions. I believe we have some from Assemblywoman Gorlow.
Thank you, Chair. And I think you mentioned it just a little bit in your presentation, but I apologize, I was having some difficulty hearing. Can you talk a little bit more about the planned responsibilities of the 2 new motor vehicle appraiser positions, and also how it would affect the workload and processing times for appraiser transactions?
The appraisal volume currently is such that the
Mr. Decker, can you provide your name for the record?
Oh, I'm sorry, J.D. Decker for the record. The appraisal volume currently in the north and the south is such that the 2 supervisors in each location are required to actually perform appraisal functions. In fact, they're overwhelmed. So the addition of the 2 appraisers in the budget unit would allow those 2 supervisors to perform supervisory functions, manage the units, provide analytics and direction for the sections, which they are currently having to do outside of a very busy appraisal schedule. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any additional questions? All right. Thank you again, Mr. Decker. Well done. We'll move on to the next budget account, which is 4712, the license plate factory.
Okay, Julie Butler for the record, DMV Director, presenting Budget Account 4712, the License Plate Factory. The License Plate Factory is organized under the Department's Central Services and Records Division. The factory is comprised of 6 FTEs. Operations are supplemented with a workforce of approximately 8 inmates from the Stewart Conservation Camp. The factory is charged with designing, manufacturing, and distributing Nevada's license plates to DMV and state assessors' offices for issuance to vehicle owners and operators in Nevada. Today, I'd like to highlight the following decision unit affecting this budget account. Decision Unit E225 requests to replace 1 Freightliner truck. The license plate factory has 1 Freightliner to deliver all license plates statewide. The current truck is a 2006 model. This request is to replace the vehicle with another agency-owned vehicle rather than a fleet services vehicle, as Fleet Services does not provide vehicles of this type, nor do they provide for commercial vehicle maintenance. In addition to delivering plates statewide, the factory truck is used to pick up materials from the Carson City warehouse, transport forms, furniture, computers, etc. during the monthly office runs. Many divisions within the DMV depend on the factory truck to transport necessary supplies, saving the department from incurring shipping costs for these deliveries. The license plate factory Freightliner requires ongoing maintenance and upkeep. This request is to proactively plan, budget for, and receive approval to replace this aging vehicle. Expenditures approved in this budget account are funded primarily by the license plate fees collected from the sales of license plates. Thus, planning and budgeting expenditures before they occur will ensure Nevadans can receive their license plates when needed. And now I'd like to provide you with an update on a current budget bill that the DMV is working on. Current law requires the department to reissue license plates every 8 years. This requirement was enacted during the 2015 legislative session and ensures that plates in circulation are easily readable and visible by law enforcement. The department's efforts to reissue license plates have been strained since the COVID pandemic shutdowns, when the plate factory was only open a couple of days per week due to staff and inmate illness. To compound issues, there has been and continues to be difficulty obtaining the necessary aluminum and sheeting material to manufacture the plates. Specifically, in conversations with our aluminum vendor, the department's license plate equipment and material vendors and other license plate jurisdictions indicate aluminum deliveries are expected to be delayed for at least the next year, and sheeting delays are currently greater than 4 months. These issues have forced the DMV to evaluate requirements and make hard decisions on what we can realistically produce. DMV believes our priority focus must be on producing license plates for newly issued registrations and new plates rather than the mandatory 8-year reissue. As such, we've significantly throttled down our production of reissue plates to 250 a night. This has led to a backlog of plates needing to be reissued of approximately 192,000 and growing. To catch up within a year's time, we estimate needing to produce 800 reissue plates nightly. To be clear, the problem is not a willingness to produce the plates or the staffing or the technical capacity. The problem is simply the lack of the raw materials, with no indications that supplies will improve anytime soon. Therefore, the DMV is proposing to only reissue plates if requested by the customer or in the event a citation is issued by law enforcement, resulting in the elimination of the 8-year mandatory reissue requirement in NRS 482-265. There's going to be a small loss of revenue to the factory of approximately $144,000 in FY24 and $150,000 in FY25. These are round numbers. They still need to be fully vetted. Department believes the factory can absorb the loss with careful management of expenditures and being proactive in ordering raw materials to take advantage of the best commodity prices. And that's it for this budget account. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. I believe we'll start with Senator Nguyen.
Thank you. Can I find out more about what causes the DMV not to identify and reissue some plates that are 8 years or older as required by that NRS? I think it's 482.265. And then I have a follow-up, Chair, if possible.
And Julie Butler, for the record, what causes us to not identify? I want to make sure I understand the question.
Yeah, it looks like, I mean, I've never received a reissue after 8 years. So I'm curious how the identification process, I mean, I see is the backlog of almost 200,000 reissue plates. Is that, have they been identified? There's a backlog?
Julie Butler, for the record. So some of the plates are exempt from reissue, so I don't know if those are the ones you're talking about. We did turn off or temporarily suspend reissue during 2020, and that was during that time where the factory was experiencing inmate illnesses, staff illnesses, and we temporarily turned the reissue off altogether. And now that's kind of created that backlog where we've since caught up, or we're not caught up, but we've since turned it on, but we're only issuing 250 a night. So it's not an IT issue, it's just trying to catch up and go back to those ones that were due, if that makes sense.
Sorry, Chair, can I follow up? I have a couple of follow-ups. So are there any additional efforts being made to catch up with that backlog?
Okay, Julie Butler again for the record. We'd love to catch up with the backlog. The problem is the supplies. So we are issuing 250 reissue plates a night. Those are produced nightly. But we've, as I said in testimony, had to make the choice of do we focus on people getting new plates or do we focus on reissue? And anecdotally, one of the things that some of the complaints that come into the office is, why did I get this new set of plates? There was nothing wrong with my plates. Why did I get these? I don't understand, So how many of these people are getting plates that they end up sitting in your garage or whatever when they could be used for a new registration? So we'd love to catch up. It's just the practical reality we find ourselves in.
And then I have another question. When you say that there's a backlog of nearly 200,000 plates, is that 200,000 separate cars? I know each car is issued 2 plates. So is that,
Are those in pairs or is that like separate plates?
Julie Butler for the record, it's sets.
Sets, okay. So it's 200,000 sets or is it more closer to like 100,000 cars?
It's 200,000 cars. Julie Butler for the record, 200,000 cars.
Have there been any efforts to look at like eliminating having a single plate, I guess?
Julie Butler for the record, we did talk about that. The factory is self-sustaining, meaning that it operates with the revenue that it generates. So it's quite possible if we went to one plate, we would have to look at increasing the plate fee to be able to be self-sustaining. So, I mean, that's something that we could certainly consider. But, you know, I don't know if there would be a public outcry in that now I'm paying twice as much for half the product. So things we need to balance.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Goicoechea?
Yeah, just a couple of questions. And now, it sounds like the tag factory is still, you've got 6 inmates, you said, helping you along with this. I'm just trying to put it all back together.
6 FTE, Julie Butler, 6 FTEs and 8 inmates.
And 8 inmates. How many tags can you produce a day, a shift, a night? You're saying 250, but I mean, what's the max? And I know I'm off just a little bit, but I'll be quick.
Asked our plate factory manager, Dave Wiley, to the table, and he can talk about production capacity nightly.
For the record, Dave Wiley, the manager of the license plate factory. To Mr. Goicoechea, we can produce about 8,000 sets of plates per day.
8,000?
Yes, at full capacity.
So clearly, it's all about the supply chain issues. When do we anticipate that's going to change? Short of mining our own aluminum or whatever. Okay.
For the record, Dave Wiley. Yes, it is a supply chain issue. As Julie Butler had mentioned, we are still expecting to have aluminum problems with the supply chain into next calendar year. And the sheeting issues that we're having from our current vendor, they're also having complications getting the materials they need to make the sheeting that they have, the pieces they need to make for the sheeting that they need to provide to us. They're still expecting to have problems through at least the end of this calendar year and possibly beyond. We just aren't entirely positive at this point.
Thank you. So it sounds like it doesn't make any, if we don't have the materials, I don't care what the backlog is, what you charge, you can't build them. So, bottom line, I really appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We'll go to Assemblywoman Dickman.
Mr. Chair, just a comment really, but our business is manufacturing, so I'm well aware of the aluminum issues, and you can order them. You can order aluminum, and you will not necessarily pay the price that it was when you ordered it. So I totally get it, and I'm sure that you can't begin to predict when this will change.
Thank you for your comment, Julie Butler, for the record. We can't, and that's why we're here today.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Members, any additional questions? Chair Harris.
Thank you so much, Chair Watts. I heard a vague reference to potentially eliminating this 8-year requirement. Is that something that the DMV is planning to do this session?
Julie Butler, for the record. Yes, we are. We have a budget bill pending, and it will be dropping very soon.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. And I guess just to make sure that we've got the full understanding. So the concept of this is that by doing that, that will not only eliminate the it sounds like where things are at right now, this backlog is just going to continue to grow because of supply chain issues. And so this proposal would not only prevent that, but it would actually apply to the current backlog to remove that requirement so that we're kind of on have a clean slate. Is that understanding correct?
Julie Butler, for the record. Yes, Chair, that's correct. There's just, right now, we can't, realistically, we have a law that we can't comply with, and we will never catch up. because of the supply. So the intent would be to wipe the slate clean. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, seeing no other questions, Senator Gokachia, other than Senator Gokachia.
Thank you, I'm sorry. But at 250 plates a day, you could probably barely keep up with the demand. I mean, out in the brush, you know, I mean, we wear the fronts off. You know, the Highway Patrol doesn't care for that one that's pretty much shined white, you know. And so, but, you know, I would imagine you'd have a request for 250 tags a day, just either lost plates or stuff that got dented in a wreck.
Yes, good comment, Senator. It sounds like, and again, those 250 are towards the backlog, right? So, but it sounds like we could certainly use those to keep up with actual demand and somebody that is requesting a plate because it's been shined white or stolen or whatever else.
Yes, thank you.
All right. With that, we'll move on to our next budget account on the agenda, which is 4735, Field Services.
Good morning, Chair and committee members. To the left of me, I have Renato Lara, and he's the Deputy Administrator for Field Services, and the Administrator for DMV, Tanya Laney. For the record, my name is Serena Gallegos, the Administrator of the Field Service Division, Budget Account 4735. The Field Service Division is comprised of 743 full-time positions, of which 560 are authorized to perform transactions at customer service windows located at 18 offices statewide. The division is responsible for the direct customer-facing service operations for driver's licensing, registering, and title of vehicles. The division provides services directly to the customers at its facilities in Northern Nevada, Carson City, South Reno, and South Reno CDL, rural Nevada, Elko, Ely, Fallon, Hawthorne, Tonopah, Winnemucca, and Yerington, Las Vegas area, Decatur, Donovan CDL, Henderson, Sahara, and West Flamingo, and Southern Nevada outlining areas Laughlin, Mesquite, and Pahrump. Self-service kiosks are available in 11 office locations: Carson City, South Reno, Elko, Fallon, Decatur, Donovan, CDL, Henderson, Sahara, West Flamingo, and Mesquite. In addition, there are 36 kiosks at DMV partnership locations in the Las Vegas, Reno, Elko, Pahrump, and Wendover areas. The first in the nation drive-through kiosk is located at the South Reno DMV. Vehicle registration renewals, liability insurance reinstatements, driver history transactions, and veteran exemptions can be completed using this technology. In addition, the department partners with AAA, with one in location Reno and one location in Sparks, and two in Las Vegas. AAA is able to process new vehicle registrations, registration renewals, simple title transactions, temporary permits, duplicate registrations, duplicate titles, and handicap placards. The division has two enhancement requests. E236. This request replaces the agency-owned 1997 International 3000 CDL bus located at the Donovan Commercial Driver's License Office in Las Vegas with a daily rental from Fleet Services. Field Services averages $3,864 per year for maintenance and fuel. The expected benefit is to allow the Donovan CDL office examiners to operate the 12 to 15 passenger van with standard license without the need for commercial driver's license, reduce the cost of maintenance, fuel, and emissions while providing a large vehicle to conduct CDL training. E237, this request replaces the agency-owned 1995 International Bluebird CDL bus located at the Reno CDL office with a daily rental from Fleet Services. Field Services averages $3,436 per year for maintenance and fuel. The expected benefit is to allow the Reno CDL office examiners to operate the 12 to 15 passenger van with the standard license without the need for a commercial driver's license, reduce the cost of maintenance, fuel, and emissions, while providing a large vehicle to conduct CDL training. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you very much. And I think we probably will have a few questions, especially as we talk about some of the transitions that have happened and how customers are served at the DMV. I think we are all aware that the department has transitioned to appointment only for the most part at the 6 major offices. Kind of concurrent with that, and this also speaks to the ongoing transformation effort, what additional services have been moved online to help reduce the need for in-person visits at this point in time?
Thank you for the question, Chair. Tanya Laney, Deputy Director of DMB. One of the biggest transactions that we moved online based on the backlog that we were experiencing through the COVID closures and to try and take some of the capacity off of the offices is driver's license renewal. That would be the biggest one. And then as Director Butler testified to earlier, we are looking for smaller transactions along our transformation project between now and 2026 to be able to take additional capacity off of the offices.
Thank you for that. And then could you just briefly speak to how shifting to appointment only has, how effective has that been in assisting customers at the department?
Again, thank you for the question, Chair Rotz, Tanya Laney for the record. It's helped tremendously, both for our customer base and our staff, to be honest. Before, we would be faced with anywhere from 300 to 500 individuals in a metro office waiting outside in the hopes to be served. As you can imagine, that would cause frustration if we were already at capacity an hour after our doors opened. And we were trying to balance our appointment customers at the same time, meaning you could have an appointment but wait upwards of an hour to be seen at your appointment time because we were filtering in through walk-in customers as well to try and serve both populations. By going appointment only, we're able to serve the customers when they expect to be served, which is at their appointment time. But in addition to that, to combat the issues of customers that have to get in and be seen immediately, we do still see customers that have payments owed with the DMV. They're coming in to surrender plates. They need to get a permit so that they can legally drive on the road till they can get their registrations completed. And then any special services that also contact the DMV for outreach. We have several different customers in the north and south that come and see us that need to get an ID immediately to reduce recidivism when they get out of like step 2 programs and stuff like that. And then we're also seeing customers if they are, we've taken groups when they get to the end of expiration dates on some of the temporary protected status customers as well. So anytime something like that pops up, we do make accommodations to serve those customers.
Thank you for that. And I know that throughout this transition, the agency, I think there's been some occasional hiccups as folks realize that those expiration dates on something are coming up, and that the appointments might be tough for them to work in with their schedule beforehand. And I know when those have come before us from our constituents, the department's been very helpful in helping get those issues resolved. And I had to go in towards the end of last year and set up an appointment, and the best experience I ever had at the Sahara DMV. By the time I checked in, it took a couple minutes, and then before I could sit down, my number came up. It was great. So I think we do have some other questions. One other thing I would highlight, though, is that there's also third-party services that are taking some of the workload off the department. So just want to make sure that that's on the record and in the mix. Chair Harris.
Thank you, Chair Watts. And I have 2 questions, if that's okay. Thanks so much. Can you just briefly discuss when the DMV anticipates allowing walk-in services to resume at the 6 major field offices, similar to before the COVID-19 pandemic?
Thank you for the question, Chair Harris, Tanya Laney for the record. We anticipate that through our transformation effort, we will be able to free up capacity of the customers that are currently coming into the office that do not need to do so. And we're hoping that what we'll see at that point is that the customers that do have to come to the DMV, either because we have to see, touch, feel the documents that they have, or they have a special situation that does not allow them to do an online transaction, that at that point in time, once we've moved the bulk of our transactions online, they would be able to just walk in. And if they don't have an appointment, we would be able to tell them, we can see you today at 1, or if you don't mind waiting 45 minutes, we can still see you today. We do anticipate that we would be able to free up capacity enough through our transformation effort to no longer have to turn away walk-ins. That's our hope. We can't guarantee you anything, but that's definitely our main goal through our transformation project.
So did I hear 2026 when transformation project is complete?
Again, no promises. We, again, Tanya Laney for the record, we do think that we'll see a little bit of an adoption, right? We'll have that curve to try and get the education out there to the public, which we have an amazing public information office team. And then our staff are good champions as well. And then also the legislature as well, getting the information out to constituents and our neighbors and letting them know everything that's available online now so that we can get the education out there, have them go online and free up that capacity in the office. But we'll sure shoot for 2026.
If the department was able to fill some of those vacant positions, how would the field service division's operations change?
For the record, Serena Gallegos. If we had more staff and we were able to fill up some of those slots, then we would be able to assist more customers and get them in sooner than later. You know, the Vegas, I think we're like 81 vacancy short. For instance, the Flamingo office is down 20 positions, and 20 positions is a lot. So you figure they can process anywhere from 4 to 5 transactions an hour for one person. You know, that's all day long. So that would be an increase in transactions and possibly increasing appointments. So we have been increasing appointments when we get more staff, because a couple months ago we were down 25 positions, and so that's a little bit better. But every time we get more staff on board, then we try to use the appointment system to be able to get that flow going to where it's better for the customers.
What do you think? What do you think needs to be done to get to those 20 positions being filled? How can we find bodies? Ideas?
Chair Harris, Tanya Laney for the record, I'd be happy to take this one. As the former administrator of that division for the last 10 years, I can tell you we have a serious pay issue. And I think that is the biggest hindrance. We don't have an issue to fill the positions, to be honest with you. We fill them, they get their first paycheck, and they leave. That's the biggest issue. The other issue is they'll come into the DMV, and other agencies love the DMV because we train very good state-trained employees. They stay with us for a year, and then they go to another agency and they make comparable to what our supervisors are making for entry-level positions at those agencies. That is the biggest roadblock that we see at our agency, to be 100% completely honest with you.
And if I may add to that, we currently, a new hire technician's take-home pay is around $887 every 2 weeks, which, for the most, like they say, they don't even have enough to make rent. And so they get usually their first paycheck and they see that, and then they end up leaving, is usually what happens.
Wow, thank you for that. Been really interested in identifying where we have some positions that are struggling to get by and may end up on getting additional state dollars in the form of public assistance programs. And I think we've found one of those, and appreciate your candor, Senator Wynn.
Thank you. I guess this is my mom question, because I've gotten this a lot from a lot of friends and constituents recently that have any parent that has a child turning 16 probably has experienced this. Look, you're shaking your heads because you know. In fact, I've had parents send me videos of them sleeping out in front of the DMV to get that appointment for their driver's license test, knowing that they couldn't get in for an appointment for months, usually after their 16th birthday. And then they were waiting out in lines in like inclement weather, like whether it's hot and cold, like, and they were huge lines. Like I have some videos I can show you. And I just have concerns because we have children out on the streets sleeping out in line without facilities to use the restroom, waiting for that. And I know that there's been some efforts to have some of the driving schools do some of those driving tests. So I appreciate that. And I'm wondering if you can give me any update on that, what we're doing to curb people camping out outside of the DMV.
Thank you for the question, Senator Nguyen. Again, Tanya Leaney for the record. You're 100% correct. We have our drive tests are backed up approximately 60 to 90 days in most of our metro office locations. And so what we are doing is we did get some language approved in the last legislative session to be able to partner with those third-party schools to be able to do non-commercial driver's license testing for us. We do have a working group that is working towards that. Right now we're trying to balance that between our technology project as well. So I will give the same answer I did earlier. We're hopeful that by 2026 we'll have a resolution to that, but we are looking at that as one of the smaller wins that we could hopefully have prior to that date. But we're looking at what we can do technology-wise to get that partnership going, because we do think that that'll take a lot of the capacity off of the office.
Thank you. Obviously, I'm glad that there's some progress on it. 2026 makes me nervous when I see kids camping out with chairs and parents and taking shifts to be in the line to get those tests. And for me, it's not just about children like trying to get their license for their first time, but I'm thinking about all the people that are not working. They're not getting their jobs because they don't have transportation. They can't get their car and they can't get their license. So I appreciate those efforts, and if there's any other things that are on the horizon that might address some of those true like public safety issues with people like sleeping out there. I guess that leads me into my follow-up. Is there any kind of security measures, or is there anything included to help combat some of that, or is that just, are you working with local law enforcement to kind of discourage people from sleeping outside the DMV?
Again, Tanya Leaney, thank you for the question. We do have, it's a combination of Capitol Police, local law enforcement, and then our own internal compliance enforcement division. We do post signage to let customers know that we do take standbys for drive tests, but that we are appointment only for the remainder of our businesses, with links for them to be able to book an appointment for those services. But again, being completely honest about staffing, we're seeing that also in those industries that they're short of staff as well. They can't always come when we call them and let them know that there's either an issue outside or somebody is on the property. We've posted trespassing signage, and Capitol Police and local law enforcement, that was their requirement to be able to trespass individuals from the property that are camping out overnight. And again, it goes back to that balancing act, right? I mean, these are our customers. We want to serve them, but we also don't want to create a safety issue by having them camp outside to wait the next morning to try and get an appointment. But we do constant communication with the customers through signage, and then our own staff and local law enforcement to let them know what we're feasibly able to do at this time.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Gorlow and then Assemblyman Hafen.
Thank you so much, Chair. I'm really excited that in my district we'll be building the Silverado Ranch location. So I was just wondering, how is that transition going to work? And I apologize because in my mind's eye I'm getting Silverado and Cactus confused. So I'm just wondering, has some of that infrastructure also been put into place, making sure that the roads are wide enough for that extra traffic?
Tanya Leaney, thank you for the question, Assemblywoman Gorlow. We have had a traffic study done for that project. I apologize I didn't bring any of that information with me, but we can definitely get you the additional information if you'd like on what they're doing for road improvements around that facility. But that was one of the very first steps in designing that new building, was to get that traffic study completed.
And also the transition, how is that going to pan out?
Again, Tanya Leaney, thank you for the record. We're fortunate in the South that we have other metro offices that we can help absorb some of the customers that we may have scheduled during the time of moving into that new facility in July of 2026. We have an amazing IT team that works with the project team to get as much done in the new building ahead of time as they can so that there is minimal to no delay on the current facility going into the new facility. When we did the Sahara building last time, they were in a little bit of a different situation because they had the old property and the new property in the same location. One was on one side of the parking lot and one was on the other, and that took a 2-week closure to be able to make that transition. We're hopeful with this one because it's an additional site with new equipment that it would be minimal to no closure on the old existing building going into the new one, that we'd be able to close at one on possibly a Thursday or Friday and then open up the new one on the following Monday. But we'll know as we get closer.
Thank you. Assemblyman Hafen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you guys for what you do. I've gone to the Prump DMV, and we've got great staff there. I'm really hopeful that we could try to address the starting compensation, because at roughly $440-something a week, I don't know how anybody can do that and sustain it. I do want to touch on my colleagues' comments on the backlog and using third-party vendors and such. And just kind of an open question and comment, if there are any other parts of your job that we could help you with by allowing third-party vendors to come in to either clear out the backlog or fill the gaps, because if we don't address the starting compensation, we're never going to be able to hire additional staffs to do the work. And so if there is anything out there, please bring that to our attention. Bring it to mind, call me on my cell phone. I'm more than happy to help because I get it. I see the backlog, I see the difficulties hiring staff, and I want to help not only you guys, but our constituents that have to sleep outside of the DMV there's normally a line. If you're not there by 5 a.m., you're not going to get in. And so anything that we can do to help ease that burden for both you and our constituents, please let us know. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, more of a comment.
Thank you, Assemblyman. Would you like to put your cell phone number on the record, or?
It's on my website, so.
Okay. Well, now everyone knows. Any other? Senator Goicoechea.
Yes, thank you. And I do have to say also DMV has been very responsive to a lot of complaints I received over the last couple of years. But, okay, we're talking about the 6 major sites, but then we end up with the Pahrumps, Elko, Fallon. Those are not appointment only. They are walk-ins, right?
Tanya Laney, for the record, that is correct.
Yeah. So, and I know it makes it a little more difficult because then you've got some people that do have appointments and intermingled. I don't know how you manage to juggle it, but I'm very aware of what happens in Elko and Fallon and those places. It's a really struggle. Then for a period of time, the field offices, I'm talking the county assessor field offices, they were under the impression that they could not take out-of-county registrations, and I want to clear that up because we were getting people driving from Elko to, say, Eureka or to Battle Mountain because they could actually get it done quicker than going through the DMV by going through a county field office. And they were then, ultimately, they said they were instructed not to take out a county. Just a clarification on that.
Tanya Laney, for the record, thank you for the question. The county assessors are DMV partners, but they essentially make their own rules. So I do know that post-COVID and some others, they even went to appointment only to try and minimize the traffic that was coming through their offices. So that may have come from particular counties that decided they would only serve that local population to keep the traffic at a minimum. But the DMV does not dictate that. That's 100% on them. As far as the DMV is concerned, county assessors can offer assistance to anybody that comes through their doors.
Thank you, and I will make sure that my constituents know that it wasn't DMV's direction. They were hiding behind something. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you all for presenting to us today and answering those questions. With that, we're going to move on to Budget Account 4717, Motor Carrier Division.
Good morning, Chair Watts, Chair Harrison, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Michael Xavier, Administrator of the Motor Carrier Division, Budget Account 4717. The Motor Carrier Division is comprised of 50 FTEs. This division is responsible for ensuring compliance with Nevada's fuel tax laws by special fuel and motor fuel suppliers and motor carriers in order to collect and distribute the maximum amount of fuel tax revenue due Nevada. Additionally, the Motor Carrier Division is responsible for licensing all commercial vehicles over 26,000 pounds, licensing all vehicles with apportioned registrations, and conducting audits of motor carriers and fuel suppliers, and complying with the International Registration Plan, IRP, and the International Fuel Tax Agreement, IFTA or IFTA. The division has one enhancement request, E904. This request transfers one fleet services vehicle from Motor Carrier Division Budget Account 4717 to Administrative Services Division Budget Account 4745. Motor Carrier Division currently leases a 2011 Toyota RAV4 through the Fleet Services Division. The primary purpose of this vehicle is for conducting on-site audits. Audits are moving more and more to electronic processes, and this vehicle is underutilized. Administrative Services Division requested a fleet services vehicle in the last biennium and again this biennium. Currently, the agency-owned 2007 Toyota RAV4 is due for replacement. Budget Account 4745 would like to utilize this fleet services vehicle and dispose of the older vehicle. Administrative Services Division oversees the warehouse and mailroom activities for the northern DMV locations from the Carson City warehouse. A vehicle such as a RAV4 is necessary to transport mail, goods, and supply items distributed from this location. That's the end of my presentation, and prepared for any questions you may have.
Thank you very much for the presentation and the overview of those enhancements. I do know that while there is going to be a policy, a bill coming forward, I think there's going to be some questions from committee members related to the proposed gas tax holiday, and I think we'll start with Senator Nguyen.
Thank you. I see on that that the governor's finance office indicated the fuel tax would be suspended in fiscal year 2024. Do you know, or can you elaborate on how that $250 million gasoline tax holiday amount was calculated?
Gonna phone a friend real quick.
Julie Butler, DMV Director, for the record, to Assemblywoman Nguyen, or Senator Nguyen. That amount was based on DMV projections of the state portion of the fuel tax, plus an amount for cushion, is my understanding. So roughly based on what DMV had collected, and then added an additional amount just to be safe.
And how much was that cushion, I guess, if you know? We're going to phone lots of
Julie
friends.
Butler, for the right. It was roughly 30 million, I believe.
Okay. And my kind of follow-up question, oh. I saw her in the back. It was at 30 million, correct? I guess my kind of follow-up question to that is, I know that we looked at the governor's budget recommendations yesterday for the Attorney General's office, specifically with regards to consumer protections. I know during his State of the State, the governor had indicated and pointed out to Attorney General Ford that his office would be there. But I didn't see any added budget or staff requests for that consumer protection, like enforcement piece. And I don't seem to see any here. So I'm wondering if the DMV's budget has sufficient funds to apply an enforcement mechanism for that gas tax holiday.
For the record, Amy Stevenson, Director for Governor's Finance Office, through you, Chair Watts, to Senator Nguyen. Whew, sorry. Those details are still being figured out as we speak, and so once they're revised, I'll make sure that we get those to the committee. But that is why you didn't see it in the AG's budget. They're still being worked out.
And may I follow up? I probably speak for many people sitting on this dais here. I know that I have concerns that actual Nevadans will never see that $250 million from that gas tax holiday. And I did have an opportunity to kind of look around the nation at the states that have implemented that fuel tax holiday. And it's been extremely difficult, if not impossible, to gauge whether or not those residents of those states have seen, or more importantly, felt that impact in their pocketbook. And I think we all agree that that was probably the intent of the governor's proposal here. But Is there any kind of plan, if you're aware of, like fiscally, to like ensure that those savings are from that gas tax holiday, or are those still details that are being worked out?
Amy Stevenson, for the record, to you, Senator Gwynn, they're still being worked out.
All right, thank you. We look forward to getting some more details on that. Next, we'll go to Assemblywoman Brown May.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much. I have some similar questions relative to the gas tax. So it appears historically there's some IT difficulty, right, with an antiquated system. And in some of our backup material, it talks about the changes that would be necessary to your information technology system at DMV. So I'm curious to know, what additional activities do you think have to be completed by the DMV to meet that July 1, 23 implementation for the gas tax holiday? That would be my first question.
Michael Xavier for the record. And I hate to keep falling on this, but we need to see the details of the BDR when it comes to that, because if it tackles one part, as in like NRS 365, it's a different set of requirements versus NRS 366, which covers diesel, because that would impact things such as IFTA and other programs. So it really depends on the language of the bill.
Okay, thank you. Follow-up, Chair? Thank you. I've just, so then I'm going to say you're probably not going to be able to answer this either, but I feel like I have to ask it. So there's going to be costs to implement this, and again, you don't know until you see the bill. So, but I'm curious to know, like, how would those costs be funded? Because they don't appear to be accounted for in the existing executive budget. Right.
Amy Stevenson, for the record, to you, Assemblywoman Brown May. They will be in the budget BDR that is going to drop this week, so I will have more information then.
Thank you. And we look forward, I'm glad to hear that BDR is forthcoming, because it's day 16 of the session. So we look forward to getting those details as soon as possible. Let's see. Next, we will go to Assemblywoman Dickman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for being here all this time. So my question is, the cost allocation in this budget is largely based on gallons of fuel associated with each tax collected, right? So given this, how would the state gasoline tax holiday affect the commission fees collected from county government, since their tax collections would comprise a greater share of the division's tax collections in FY24?
Michael Xavier for the record. It could possibly increase them slightly because we wouldn't be collecting against the state tax. But again, it depends on the details of that bill on how that would affect that cost allocation.
And Julie Butler, again for the record, I do believe the intent is that that everybody is made whole essentially from this $250 million pot that's set aside. So again, not having had the benefit of seeing the bill, I do believe the intent is that there are no negative consequences to counties or cities or school districts, et cetera. And Amy, do you want to?
Amy Stevenson, for the record, I would like to just echo what Director Butler said. The intent was to keep everybody whole, so there should be no deficit anywhere.
Good, thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Let's see. I believe we have a question from Assemblywoman Anderson.
Thank you, Chair. And mine's in this budget and specifically, but it also reflects a little bit on the budget that we just heard from 4735. How many openings do you currently have in the fleet area? And then also, is the pay for that similar to what the pay was mentioned for 4735, which is very disappointing. I probably should not put that on the record, but I just did. So is that a consistent pay in this area as well for the field services?
Michael Xavier for the record. I have the luxury of not dealing with the DMV services technician job class, and when they talk about other agencies robbing Peter to pay Paul, a lot of them come to my section because I do pay more. Right now I have 8 vacancies, but I do not want to say that would be an adequate statement that say we pay well there as well, because a tax examiner anywhere else makes more than my staff do. Auditors outside of my section make more than my staff do. my revenue officers make less than the average revenue officer on the municipalities or out in the private sector. So while I don't have the gaps that the other sections have, I still do, like I said, 8 out of 50. That's my 16% vacancy rate within the division.
Thank you, Chair. And that also explains why you had so many daggers when you walked up from other members of the DMV area. But no, seriously, thank you very much for that clarification, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions from members of the committee on this? All right. Thank you very much for your time today. And again, we'll look forward to continued discussion on some of these issues when that bill comes forward. That concludes our overview of DMV budget accounts for today. With that, I'll welcome the Department of Veteran Services. We'll take a moment to let everyone get resituated here. All right, I think we're mostly all reconfigured. Welcome, Director. Whenever you're ready, you can begin.
Thank you, Chair Watts. I appreciate it, and the committee for allowing us to present again today. I know we presented to the large group on February 1st, so we will make this a little less showy and get right to the meat of the material. My name is Fred Weiger, and I serve as the department's director, and I have with me today our Chief Financial Officer and Executive Officer, Joe Thiele, to help me go through this. And so we, as you know, have 3 budget accounts, 2560, 2561, and 2569 that we'll be discussing today. 2560 includes our headquarters and our service officers, cemetery employees, and outreach programs. 2561 will deal with the Southern Home, and 2569 will be with our home in Sparks. Our total FTE is 259.49, and our general fund request over this biennium is $8,914,807. The first budget account I really want to talk about is 2560. We'll start with the 7 enhancements that we have for 2560. And Chair Watts, if you would like, we will be happy to take questions as we go along, or wait until I get to the end of each budget.
Thank you, Director. I think we'll let you go through the items in the budget, and then we'll take questions from the members on the budget as a whole.
Director Weiger, for the record, thank you, sir. As background, 2560 supports 69 FTE, which includes our 9 Veteran Service Commission members. Now, those are not paid employees, but we will discuss that here in a minute. They are on the Veteran Service Commission, and they're in our budget because we provide them some travel pay. Our first enhancement request is funding travel for the Director and Deputy Director of Benefits to the National Association of State Directors of Veterans Affairs. That is the NASDVA. It's a national organization. It represents all 50 states. It represents the District of Columbia and all 5 U.S. territories. Nationally, NASDVA is the second largest provider of services to veterans, right under the VA. The attendance at these conferences helps us by providing myself and my deputy director with the opportunity to collaborate and share best practices with our counterparts, and enables our states to position itself better to obtain grants and other resources to help our active duty veterans and our families here in Nevada. Through our affiliation of NASDVA, Nevada has received 5 of the Abraham Lincoln Pillar of Excellence Award that you see in the picture. These are done for best practices, and the one you see there is for our Ask a VSO program, which is on our website. Somebody can click on there, ask whatever question they want, and we respond. And we've had these questions from not only over the country, but as out of the country as well. People who are getting ready to get out of the military and go, okay, what's Nevada offer that other states don't? So we're very proud of that program, and that was one of our best practices. The next request is for 2 grounds maintenance workers at the Southern Nevada Veterans Memorial Cemetery. This position's primary focus is installing, repairing, and maintaining the cemetery's irrigation system. The duties also include maintaining the grounds, including mowing and trimming and fertilizing, much more. On February 6th, an expansion started at the Southern Nevada Veterans Memorial Cemetery, adding another 5 acres and 10,000 interment sites. One of the things that these folks do that's not thought about, because you hear a grounds maintenance worker, but it's also interacting with the families. So when the quick ceremony gets done, because we have 20-minute ceremonies and then they have to move out of the chapel so the next family can come in, is dealing with the emotions from the families that are grieving and have that personal skill. And so they have to quickly go from the hard labor of out in the grounds and digging graves and whatever they're doing to going up and escorting the families to inter their loved ones. These are critical positions that are needed right now to help our overworked staff that are already there. At the second busiest state cemetery in the nation, we inter 10 to 15 interments a day. So you can tell they're very, very overworked. Our next request is for funds needed for in-state travel. Again, this is for myself and my Deputy Director of Benefits to come from Vegas to Reno for meetings with veterans organizations, veteran centers, agencies, of course the Governor's Office, and legislative hearings such as this. And of course our VAMDAL, our Veterans and Military Day at the Legislature, coming up on March 15th. I thought I'd get that plug in, so thank you. But it also restores travel funds that were cut during the last biennium. So we'd appreciate your thoughts on that, your support on that. Our next request is funding 5 critically needed positions. The first one is currently, they're all contract positions right now. This position is the Healthcare Program Manager, and the position is responsible for all NDVS healthcare programs and initiatives, including the Healthcare Champion, which came out of AB 300, I think in 2019. And so that person's over that program, but this person's also over our Veteran in Care, recognizing veterans at our assisted living and long-term facilities in the state. Heroes for Heroes, connecting the folks, residents in our homes with outside individuals who are willing to connect with them. Veterans Canine Corps, telehealth, and coordinating with partner organizations. This was created, as I mentioned, due to AB 300 passed in 2019. The next position is also currently contract position. That's the Suicide Prevention Program Manager. This is currently a contract position, and it is responsible for all aspects of the program, including the Governor's Challenge and the Mayor's Challenges to prevent suicide among our service members, veterans, and families. It also has education initiatives such as partnering with the Office of Suicide Prevention to promote training such as Assist, Safe Talk, and Suicide Prevention 101, which we hope everybody would take. Previously, mayor's challenges were established in Las Vegas and Truckee Meadows. In 2022, mayor's challenges were also established in Winnemucca and Elko. I want to give you a couple of numbers, and that's the amount of suicides right here in Nevada. According to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, in 2021, 126 veterans died by suicide in Nevada. That's a 19.8% rate compared to national average of 12.9. We have a lot of work to do on suicide prevention. As you can tell, that number was significantly higher than the national veteran suicide rate. The next position that we're asking for is an outreach director. So this position's been around since 2014, again, a contract position. This position previously was just out of Las Vegas, covering the whole state, and it just didn't do it. So we brought on the contract position in the north, and it has nearly doubled our outreach efforts here in the state. We have added cities like Reno and Sparks and Elko, Fallon, Carson City, and all of the other small communities north of Tonopah. Tonopah and south is covered by our southern outreach director. So they do a lot of outreach, and they're doing a great job. Our next position is the Education Employment Program Manager. Again, this is currently a contract position that's been present since 2017. This position is responsible for providing veteran service members and eligible family members with resources to obtain and maintain employment and have knowledge of education benefits and programs. With Nevada TAP, Nevada Transition Assistance Program, codified into NRS in 2021, this critical contract employee is now providing the quarterly training for transitioning service members, veterans, and dependents to ensure they know of the state and local resources at their disposal. We just had a couple of weeks ago NVTAP out at Fallon. About 3 months before that, we had one in Las Vegas for those transitioning out of Nellis Air Force Base. We will be doing that quarterly back and forth so that we make sure we contact those individuals, plus the veterans are invited so they know about the resources that are provided here in Nevada. And the final position in this portion is the Veteran Service Officer 1. We need an additional Veteran Service Officer primarily due to the passage of the 2022 PACT Act that was put into force. This act expands the number of disabilities that veterans are entitled to. Those that were exposed to toxic-related exposures, including we've always had the Vietnam, or not always, but we've had them for quite a long time, the Vietnam presumptives. This adds the Persian Gulf and Gulf War vets as well to what they were related to. These VSOs are pretty good investment. Our VSOs right now are bringing in nearly $16 million a year into the state in federal benefits provided to veterans. It's pretty good payoff for us, so we appreciate them. The next request funds the Adopt a Vet Dental Program, providing unrestricted support for continued sustainable funding to provide critical dental care services for low-income veterans throughout the state of Nevada. They began in Reno, with dental work being provided for eligible veterans by dentists, providing pro bono treatment to veterans who do not qualify for VA dental care. This program has now expanded to Las Vegas. So far in fiscal year 23, Adopt a Vet Dental pro bono dentists have completed 56 veterans with full mouth restorations, with 38 veterans in process of receiving treatment. And those numbers continue to grow, with an expected 100 to 115 veterans to be served this fiscal year at the dental clinic and at the Truckee Meadows Community College in Reno, and the Adoptive Vet Dental Clinic at the Volunteers in Medicine Building in Las Vegas. These veterans are not coming in for simple cleaning. These veterans are coming in for very extensive dental treatment and often multiple repairs. As you know, we cannot function without computers nowadays, so my next two will address that. The first one is the replacement computer hardware and associated software per EATS. As everybody knows, the state system, the recommended replacement schedule, and these are past useful life expectancy. And the next one is IT peripherals to support that. These are not on the replacement schedule, such as cables, power adapters, etc. Replacement of failing cables, power adapters, and other peripherals are a normal function of the office environment. This concludes our presentation on budget account 2560. I would note that if you have questions about Adoptive Vet Dental, excuse me, we have Demi Gonzalez, who is the Executive Director of Adoptive Vet Dental, for any budget questions you have on there, and I believe he is in the south.
Thank you very much, Director. And just as a heads up, I do think we'll have a couple of questions on Adoptive Vet.
I figured.
First, we will start with Assemblyman Hafen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Director Wagner. It's always good to see you. I kind of want to touch on the new positions because they're not technically new. They're contracted, and so there's an enhancement, 400 and something thousand. Is it just clarifying? Are we looking at taking the current contractors and making them actual employees? And is there really a cost savings, or is it really a $400,000 additional expense to the state?
Director Wagner, thank you for the question through the chair to the Assemblyman.
Thank you. You can go directly to the member.
Okay. Assemblyman Hafen, I appreciate the question. This is actually, and I wish I'd brought that one piece of paper and I forgot it at home, but there is actually a cost savings because we have to pay the agency that we go through to bring these folks on. And so we have to pay them a pretty substantial 25% of the salary. And so these will actually, the 5 positions together would save us dollars for the state.
Quick follow-up, Mr. Chair. Thank you. That was kind of what I understood, is there would be a cost savings to the state by bringing these on as employees. And then my follow-up is, are the contractors willing to come on as employees so we don't have a loss of service to our veterans?
Director Wagner, for the record, thank you for the question. Great question. We have talked to them and explained to them that, yes, there will be a decrease in your overall take-home pay because there's the 15.5% that's taken right off the top for retirement, et cetera. But these are high enough wages that I don't see them running out the door, and they've said, yeah, we're fine with that. We want to be state employees. So so far we've gotten good feedback from these contract employees to become state employees.
Thank you, and if you would, just thank them for all of us for what they're doing. We greatly appreciate it, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Assemblywoman Gorlow.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for being here. I just love this Adoptive Vet program. And I've heard you talk about it a couple different times. But I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit more on the services that are provided for the veterans. When you talk about restoration, are they implants, dentures, just lots and lots of fillings? And also, you mentioned 115 would be served if the request is approved. Is that in addition to the 56 being approved, or is that a total? And approximately how many do need restorations and dental care? Sorry, that's a lot.
Director Wager for the record, thank you for the question. And I am going to call a friend. I see that Demi is in the chair down in Las Vegas. He is the executive director for Adoptive Vet Dental here in Nevada. And I bet you he can answer every single question you got. Demi?
Good morning. This is Demi Gonzalez for the record. Chair, yes. Right now, we have about 56 veterans that have been completed so far, and we usually do about 100 veterans with the budget that we have now. We just with expanding to Las Vegas, we're able to do more with the partnerships that we've made with Volunteers in Medicine, with our first clinic opening being March 11th. But yes, a total of 115. We're looking at 115 or more, depending on how fast we can get the clinic at Volunteers in Medicine up and running, and adding more dentists to our program that we are continuously approaching every week for dental care. But most of these veterans haven't seen dentists in many, many years. And because of that, most of them don't need just normal show up to the dentist and natural, just basic dental care. Most of them need things like dentures, crowns, bridges, root canals, root planing, deep cleanings, and even sometimes bone reconstruction in their mouth. But that's basically what most of our patients have to deal with when they come into our program. So yes, it's extensive for every patient that comes in. Right now, we have about 100 person waiting list in the south, with pretty much similar number in the north. We continue to do in processing, where we go out and we do have a program where we do outreach among all of Nevada, which is from Reno, Tahoe area, all the way down to Vegas, Pahrump, and we do outreach, and we continuously every week bring new people into the program that haven't had the chance to get dental care through the VA due to the limited space there.
I was going to say thank you so much. I can only imagine also what this does to help with their overall health too, because dental care, you can't eat healthy. It's a little hard to eat an apple without teeth. So thank you.
Thank you. Members, additional questions? Seeing none, I have just a couple quick ones. While we've got you down there, could you just tell us a little bit more? What's the current demand that you're seeing? You know, how many folks have been identified, or do you expect will be identified with some additional resources that are in need of services from the Adoptive Vet Dental program? And so I think we've got a lot of clarity on where you're at right now, and with with the proposed increase in funding from the state, how many veterans do you think you would be able to serve as you continue to scale up with this additional funding in a year?
Thank you for the question, Demi Gonzalez for the record, through the chair. Yes, I right now, we're looking at doubling the number of patients that we normally see, and even better than that, we were fortunate enough that we were able, as soon as I came down to Vegas, to partner up with Volunteers in Medicine, and they offered us a clinic to work out of, which enables us to get retired dentists that just retired to do pro bono dental work for us in the clinic itself. So it's the possibility of even tripling the numbers that we have are there. The amount of patients that we have, or the amount of veterans in the South, as you know, are 3 times the amount that are in the North. And there's no, the amount of patients that we see, every time we do an in-processing, we add about 20 to 25 people to our program. And it takes time. Most of these patients need anywhere from 5 to 6, sometimes 7 appointments throughout their course of treatment. So it definitely is, with the extra monies that if we're allotted, would allow us to open the clinic more often.
will allow us to buy the materials that we need. Even though Volunteers in Medicine is allowing us to work in their clinic, we still have to come up with all the supplies necessary to treat our patients. But not only that, while the dentists do the work pro bono, most of the technicians, most of the dental assistants don't work pro bono. Most of them come in on a Saturday, and we have to pay those assistants in order to come in. There is a major shortage of dental assistants, and any dentist around town can tell you it's hard to find them. And in order to bring them in, we have to pay them appropriately in order to come in on a Saturday, vice an actual weekday. But yes, it's the amount of patients, even right now, we would normally be at 100 by June by the end of this fiscal year, and we're looking at being at 115 to even more, just being able to open up the clinic in the South, but also adding more dentists in the South will allow us to treat more patients as well, that let us send our patients to the actual dental clinics at their actual dental clinics. So we're looking at doubling and even tripling the number of patients that we see, and it's a great enhancement for the health and wellness of the veterans here in Mid and Southern Nevada.
Thank you very much for all that additional detail, Mr. Gonzalez. We appreciate it. Director Wagner, I do have a question that was kind of spurred by one of the things that Mr. Gonzalez noted. So the one position that is an addition and not a transfer from contract is the VSO position. Could you just tell us a little bit, looking at the backups, it looks like all these positions are needed and justified. It also looks like we've got about equal numbers of VSOs in kind of northern Nevada and southern Nevada, but there's 3 times a much greater vet population. So can you just speak to that a little bit? Do we have adequate VSO capacity to assist folks in southern Nevada, especially given how many resources they are able to bring in through their activities?
Director Wagner, for the record, thank you for the questions, Chair. It's a tough question to answer because we can always use more VSOs, but I can only ask for so many at a time before this body, and I'm sure you're aware of that. But I'll tell you that the ones that we're needing right now, we're doing pretty good in the South. We can always use more, but right now we're doing pretty good. What I'm looking at here in the North is we have a contract position here in Carson City, and that individual is leaving. And so I do need to fill that position, and I'd prefer to do it with somebody who's going to stick around and not cost us the extra funding that we do through a contract. And so it is a contract position. It's not absolutely new, but it is a new VSO for that. That contract position right now is 3/4, 30 hours a week. And so that one is probably about a break even after you consider the fees that we paid the contract company. You're going to hear in the next presentation about another VSO that we're asking for the Northern Home. That's in a different budget account. But this one here is definitely needed, as this individual down here who's been spectacular, great numbers, and the community around this area know that office is there. And so we get a lot of veterans coming from the other communities in the area, and so all the way down to Hawthorne and back. So there's a reason we've asked for specific areas, and I know the question was asked, I believe, by the Senator Gokachia last time, exactly where those are going to be, and I had mentioned in the north, and we got a question on that, and I appreciate that. And so the answer is, right now we're looking at this position being here in Carson City.
Thank you for that. And again, I understand that in order to make sure that every region in our state is served, that's not necessarily going to line up perfectly with the distribution of the population, since we have folks in rural communities that would benefit from having access to staff, to VSOs. But just wanted to at least put that out there for some of my colleagues in Southern Nevada to consider. I think the need is justified, again, for these positions, so it's not an issue of where are these positions based, but do we need to make sure that we've got enough to assist folks in Southern Nevada as well?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Director Wager, for the record, if I may, I also wanted to let you know that we do look at the numbers that every VSO is doing. We've got Elko, we've got Fallon, Winnemucca is a part-time contract. We look at all the numbers of all of our VSOs and say, okay, how are they doing? Where are they doing it? And we kind of use that as a guide of where we really need somebody. Right now, that's here.
Thank you very much. Chair Harris?
Thank you, Chair. I have another question about the Adopt-A-Vet dental program. Sorry about that. Yeah. Could you tell us if we were to appropriate the $875,000 in each fiscal year, what percentage of the Adopt-A-Vet dental program Inc.'s operations would be funded through the general fund?
Director Weiger, for the record, to the center, I will again pass that on to Demi.
Good morning, Demi Gonzalez, for the record. Actually, Heather Borkowski, who's our Chief Financial Officer for Adopt-A-Vet, is in Vegas, and she is able to give you insight onto that question.
Director Weiger, for the record, she's actually here in Carson City, so if you don't mind, I'll let her answer that.
Hello, Heather Borkowski for the record. Right now, our admin percentage is at about 10% each quarter. So the funding for that, I believe we have $95,000 to $100,000 that we would have to fundraise and raise on our own. So the funding wouldn't completely cover the Adopt-A-Vet program. We would still have to fundraise and raise funds.
Okay, so I'm hearing it would be about a 90% coverage of the operating expenses.
That is correct.
Okay, and just one follow-up if I could, Chair. Very quick, yes. What percentage of these expenses are used on administrative costs?
10%.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Members, any additional questions on this budget account? Wonderful. Seeing none, we will move on to the next item, which is Budget Account 2561, the Southern Nevada Veterans Home.
Thank you, Chair. Director Wager, for the record. Budget account 2561 covers the Southern Nevada State Veterans Home. This budget account is associated with that home, and the team at the home provides a 24-hour skilled nursing care facility in a 180-bed facility. It's for veterans, spouses, and Gold Star parents. This count supports 185.49 FTE and is funded by federal, private, and other revenue. We have 10 proposed enhancements for this, and I'd like to go through those requests at this time.
Yes, please do, and you can just hit the highlights.
Okay. The first one is for Director Wager, for the record. The first one is for storm wind training. I discussed this back on February 1st. This is for our IT professionals and would provide some great online learning along with live instructor-led classes as well. I had a picture of the logo for them, but I can't use that anymore. So the next request is for preventative electric maintenance in the case of circuit breakers. We were advised by CMS, Center for Medicaid, Medicare, that this is a mandatory thing now, and so we are asking to do that, and this would fulfill that requirement. Our next enhancement is our annual software license for a data housing platform, and the next request is regarding a quality management system that allows quality assurance and performance indicator plan and facility assessment tools, reporting, mentoring, and support services for our Southern home. The next request is for TIPA snow dimension training for nursing staff to better understand their patients and their changing needs. TIPA is an individual who is a graduate of Duke University and has served as a lead trainer for the Eastern North Carolina chapter of Alzheimer's Association. So this is some really good training. This request also funds the IV training for LPNs. Currently, we have just a few, approximately 10 RNs that are allowed to do the IV training, and sometimes we have to wait to get those IVs done, and this would just help us add 22 additional LPNs that are able to do the IV insertions. The next request is for the Deputy Director of Healthcare Services, the Administrator of the Home, and the Director of Nursing to attend the National Association of State Veterans Homes annual training conference. This is somewhat like the NASDVA training I talked about earlier for the Director and the Deputy Director of Benefits. The next one is computer hardware. Is same thing as I've mentioned before. It's a necessity of working in the office. And so the next one is it's kind of funny, it includes vacuums and resident television and all that, but it also includes CPUs for the nurses station and master council. It also this request includes a flooring replacement in various areas throughout the home. The next one is regarding IT equipment for the home in the conference rooms and the administrator's office, etc. And finally, the next enhancement is requesting the backflow preventers. We had a good discussion of that last time, and I'm happy to say that on Friday, a work program was submitted to fund the backflow preventers in an attempt to have those funded earlier, and if they're approved, these requests would be removed through technical adjustments. This ends the presentation of 2561. I hope I did okay.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that overview, Director Wagger. And I don't think our colleague Assemblywoman Peters is here, but I'm sure she will be very happy to hear about the updates
Assemblyman Hafen as well. So.
Yes. Very, very excited to hear about the backflow prevention. Members, any questions on this budget account? That's how well you did with that presentation, Director. Thank you. With that, we'll move on to the last budget account today, which is 2569, the Northern Nevada Veterans Home.
Thank you, Chair. Director Wagger, for the record. As you mentioned, this is for the Northern Nevada State Veterans Home. This home provides 24-hour skilled nursing care in a 96-bed state skilled nursing home facility. And this account supports 5 FTE and is funded by general fund and federal revenue. We're requesting 5 enhancements. First one I mentioned earlier is the Veteran Service Officer. We have a contract that has the states that we will have a Veteran Service Officer in the home. Right now we are using an individual out of our headquarters building, and it's going back and forth. That's not working real well because the veterans never know when they can catch that VSO. And so we're requesting that this be a full-time position added to the home. Again, these VSOs bring in about $16 million a year for our state, so that's a good investment. The next request is funding replacement of computer hardware. I've mentioned that several times, and this is necessary to stop any issues with that. Again, the next request is for the IT peripherals to go along with that. We have some one-shots, and so the first request is the backflow preventers. I won't cover that again. I think we've done that. And so, but we're glad that we may be able to get that quicker than anticipated and remove this request. The next is maintenance of buildings and grounds. This is regarding one interior door to widen it. We discussed that during the large hearing, and we definitely need to move that wider so we can get the larger wheelchairs that weren't considered when the building was constructed. Again, this concludes this portion of the budget request, and I'll stand for any questions. I should note that Carl Hughey from Avalon is in the room and available for any questions you might have to Avalon directly.
Thank you very much, Director Wagger. I believe we do have a question from Assemblywoman Anderson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. How many Nevada veterans and their families would be helped with this new position, with the new Veteran Service Officer that's being discussed right now? How many would they be able to assist over the course of a year? Would you guesstimate?
I'm trying to think of the number that they do. I have that number, and I can certainly get that to you through the chair. But they won't only just help the 96 in the home, 94 to 96. They do a pretty good job of keeping that filled. And currently, we're doing a floor project in the home, so we're down 8 residents. But as soon as that floor project is over, we'll be able to fill that up. They'll not only help them, but it'll add an office in Sparks that other veterans can come into as well. It's right by the lobby. And so I'll get you the number that our average, for our VSOs.
Thank you. You can go ahead and provide that to our staff. That would be great. Thank you. Senator Goycochea?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I guess we're only talking about one door. I think in the previous presentation, some of us thought it was more than one door, and we were wondering, how could this happen, you know, a new building and end up with the doors not being handicap accessible? But again, we're only talking one door in the whole facility.
Director Weiger, for the record, thank you for the question, Senator. You're absolutely right. It's for the one door to the physical therapy room where they need to go in, and some of those wheelchairs are larger.
I thank you, because I think a lot of us were thought, how did this happen? So thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Members, any additional questions for the department? Seeing none, thank you again so much for your time, for the detailed presentation. Always appreciate the pictures. Really puts everything into context. So members, that concludes our budget hearings for today, right at 10 o'clock. And the last item on our agenda is public comment. Anyone wishing to provide public comment by phone can find the call-in information on our agendas, which are posted on the legislature's website. We'll ask anyone wishing to provide comment to limit their remarks to 2 minutes and to please state their name clearly for the record before they begin. With that, we'll start with anyone wishing to provide public comment here in Carson City. Seeing none. Anyone wishing to provide public comment in Las Vegas? And seeing none there. Broadcast Production Services. Do we have anyone wishing to provide public comment by phone?
To provide public comment, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, the public line is open and working, but nobody wishes to provide public comment at this time.
Thank you very much. I believe our next subcommittee meeting will be March 1st, and Chair Harris, I believe this sets a new record. Thank you, everyone. We're adjourned.